don't have no felonies. I'm not crazy or none of that. It's like, I just want the truth, and it's so hard to get it from the courts. And seems like Jay-Z don't want to say anything. So, I don't want to see him go down for something that you could have just got taken care of. That's it.
Jay-Z's alleged son has just reignited a controversy many believed was finished. In a surprising social media post, he publicly thanked Donald Trump and Nicki Minaj for supporting him after courts across the United States effectively shut down his efforts to prove his paternity claim. What once looked like a closed chapter, buried under years of legal dismissals and overwhelming legal costs, has suddenly returned to the spotlight. This week, Rymir Satterthwaite posted a message that immediately caught attention. By tagging two of Jay-Z's most outspoken critics, he created the impression that the timing might not be accidental. To some observers, it looks less like coincidence and more like a strategic move. The post arrived only days after Nicki Minaj's fiery remarks during Grammy Week, where she accused Jay-Z of serious wrongdoing. Even more striking, the message appeared just hours before reports circulated claiming that documents connected to Trump's proposed Epstein Files Transparency Act had mentioned Jay-Z in a controversial allegation involving incapacitation. The financial and legal history behind the case adds another layer to the story. According to previous reports, Rymir's now bankrupt godmother allegedly spent around $119,000 in legal fees during the fight. Meanwhile, Nicki Minaj has claimed she lost nearly $200 million during the title sale dispute, and perhaps the most puzzling detail in the entire saga. Despite 15 years of legal battles, no DNA test has ever been conducted. Courts have repeatedly dismissed the case, sometimes labeling it harassment. Yet Jay-Z's continued silence regarding the original allegation, first raised when Rymir was reportedly only 16, combined with his legal team's persistent efforts to have the matter.
This morning, rap mogul Jay-Z is denying allegations he assaulted a 13-year-old girl alongside rapper Sean Diddy Combs. That civil lawsuit filed against Combs in October was amended Sunday to include Jay-Z. The accuser, identified only as Jane Doe, says she was assaulted by both men.
Race entirely has kept speculation alive. At this point, the central question isn't simply whether Rymir's claim is true. The bigger mystery is why powerful figures who appear to support him now waited so long to get involved, and why this moment of all moments was chosen to bring the issue back into public view. What began as a disputed paternity claim has evolved into something far bigger in the eyes of many observers. A potential crack in the carefully managed image of one of the most powerful empires in the music industry. The moment Rymir Satterthwaite pressed post on that message thanking Nicki Minaj and Donald Trump for their support, the entire narrative around Jay-Z's long-running paternity battle shifted. Suddenly, the story stopped looking like a routine legal dispute over DNA and began to resemble something far more strategic. This didn't feel like the last desperate move of a man who had just been blocked by the courts. It looked deliberate, almost like a signal. For Rymir, every legal path had already been closed. Judges had ruled that he could no longer file additional lawsuits, ordered his godmother to pay $119,000 in legal costs, and labeled the entire effort harassment. But that explanation leaves several questions unanswered. If the claim was truly nothing more than harassment, why has Jay-Z's legal team spent more than a decade and significant resources making sure a DNA test never takes place? Why would Nicki Minaj, who has spent years publicly criticizing Jay-Z, accusing him of deception and worse, suddenly appear to support the man accusing him? And then there's Donald Trump's name entering the conversation. Trump rarely inserts himself into conflicts within the music industry, yet Rymir publicly thanked him during the same week that Trump's proposed Epstein Files Transparency Act report
Never got anything, so why wouldn't I believe my mom? We could have been settled this, and it only takes a conversation and some words. I'm not a hateful guy. I don't hate anyone. I'm not after nobody. I'm not trying to see no one downfall. But this is just some things that just went through court, and they just expected me to just sit there and just take what they were saying.
Pushed millions of documents into public circulation, one which allegedly mentioned Jay-Z in a room with film producer Harvey Weinstein and a victim who claimed she had been incapacitated. The timing alone raised eyebrows. Rymir's message appeared on February 1st, Only 3 days after Nicki Minaj's emotional outburst during Grammy Week, where she accused Jay-Z not only of financial betrayal, but hinted at deeper power dynamics inside the entertainment industry. Soon after, attention shifted to the Epstein-related documents released through Trump's Transparency Initiative, which reportedly included an unverified tip referencing Jay-Z and Weinstein. People familiar with the situation argue that these events may not simply be coincidence. They may represent leverage. For years, Nicki Minaj has claimed she was owed roughly $200 million related to the title sale, yet those accusations never carried the weight needed to pressure Jay-Z directly. Rymir's case, however, especially the claim that his mother was only 16 at the time of the alleged relationship with Jay-Z, introduces a far more serious dimension. Trump's name appearing in the mix doesn't necessarily suggest charity either. To some observers, it resembles the calculated use of controversy by someone who understands how public scandals can shift power. This is where the story becomes even more complicated. Jay-Z's attorneys have consistently portrayed the lawsuit as nothing more than a nuisance claim from someone seeking money. Yet the numbers tell their own story. Rymir's godmother, Lily Coley, has reportedly been left facing bankruptcy after paying $119,000 in legal fees. Meanwhile, the case stretched across 15 years of litigation, with Jay-Z's team repeatedly arguing,
"Weirdo. I don't get no what you got in your head, that neural link. You'll never outthink me. Ever."
that the allegations were baseless, but never agreeing to the single action that could conclusively settle the issue, a DNA test. That approach doesn't look like the way most people handle a minor annoyance. It looks more like the strategy used to contain a risk. Then there's the issue of age. According to the allegations, Wanda Satterthwaite was 16 when she was involved with Jay-Z, who was reportedly 22 at the time, in New Jersey. That situation could potentially raise legal concerns beyond simple controversy. Yet this detail has rarely been explored in mainstream coverage. Jay-Z's representatives have never directly addressed it, and the broader media discussion has largely moved around it. That silence has become one of the most puzzling elements of the entire story. And sometimes silence is exactly the thing that causes people to start connecting dots that were never meant to be connected. At this stage, the real mystery isn't whether Rymir is truly Jay-Z's son. That question almost feels secondary now. What matters more is why the people suddenly standing beside him have spent years establishing themselves as some of Jay-Z's loudest critics, and what they could gain if they managed to pressure him into a vulnerable position. Nicki Minaj's conflict with Jay-Z has clearly gone far beyond a simple business disagreement. Over the past couple of years, she has repeatedly accused him of everything from financial manipulation to far darker behavior. Her outburst during Grammy Week wasn't just an emotional moment. It sounded more like a public declaration that the conflict had reached a